I'm Hayley Blum. I lead U.S. business development for SailGP, a global sail racing property powered by nature. I have the pleasure of sitting here with Shergul Arshad, who is head of North America for the Formula One Aston Martin team. Thanks for sitting down with me today.
Thanks. I'm Shergul Arshad, as Hayley just mentioned, and I'm head of North America for the Aston Martin Formula One team. As some of you may know, Aston Martin's relatively new to the Formula One game, although it's a 111-year luxury car brand. We've jumped back into Formula One. This is our fourth season racing under the name Aston Martin, and have had tremendous success of late. We've ratcheted up to, we're fifth place in the standings, entrenched in the top half of the sport, and our ambitions are to win a championship. And my role is to help the team get there by finding new sponsorships, evangelizing the brand, keep growing our fan base everywhere, and it's great to be here.
I'm really looking forward to this chat, as there's a lot of similarities with SailGP and Formula One, one being they're both high-speed racing properties, but also we have very similar roles in the sense of we both work in business development, commercial marketing for premium sports brands. So I'm really interested to hear your perspective on all things partnerships and marketing, especially within Formula One and the Aston Martin team. So before we get more in depth on the Aston Martin Formula One team, I did want to start a little bit high level, as I know you've worked in other sports such as soccer. So I wanted to get your perspective on what you think Formula One, what differentiates Formula One from a brand partnerships proposition versus other sports properties.
Yeah, there's really nothing like Formula One for a global brand. The reason is even the only sport that could potentially compete from a global platform perspective is soccer, as you mentioned. Soccer, you might have a team based in Manchester or a team based in Liverpool. And if you are that team and you're trying to attract a sponsor or sponsorship, their key epicenter is really the city of Liverpool or the city of Manchester. And for companies based in the US, let alone Asia, et cetera, you might go there once, but it's not an annually recurring part of their schedule. With Formula One, we basically pack up the circus, as we say. Every 2 weeks, we're traveling around the world. We go to 20 countries for 24 races.
Wild.
And what brands love about that, and large multinational, whether it's a tech company or packaged goods companies, you name it, banking, the opportunity to have their customers experience the major event of happening in their country or in their region is really unparalleled. So, you could argue that golf, at least the old version of golf and tennis, does some of that. But the magnitude of Formula One, you're talking about 1.5 billion TV viewers. Every race is like a Super Bowl. So here in the US, of course, Super Bowl is king, but there's 24 Super Bowls happening, both from a magnitude and TV audience. And just a small digression, but the city of Las Vegas just hosted the Super Bowl. Our Grand Prix, which was the first Grand Prix there, did about 4x the economic impact for the city of Vegas. So, and the global interest in the sport is stronger than ever. And so for sponsors to be able to access their global reach, there's really nothing like Formula One.
And do you find that there's specific partners who are really looking for that local touch point in any of the 24 markets that Formula One is racing in, versus kind of being there the full way for all 24 races from a global perspective? Yeah. Is there kind of like two kind of parallel paths?
Yeah, I mean, so first of all, we're at a point, an inflection point, in that because there's 3 US races and a Montreal race, Mexico City, the North America package of races or opportunity to be part of that, for the first time ever, I'd say, since adding the Vegas race, you have these 4 or 5 Super Bowl level events to create a really relevant sponsorship, even if you're just a U.S.-based or North American-based company. What I've found and what we've found, I think some of the other teams would agree, is that there's probably about 10 to 12 races out of the 24 that draw the most amount of sponsorship interest for activations. That's still spread across, 6 or 7 countries. So, but they definitely have sort of a more premium interest from sponsors.
And then, in a similar vein of what differentiates F1, what differentiates the Aston Martin Formula One team comparatively to some other of the teams, Mercedes, Red Bull, from a partnership perspective?
Yeah, I mean, the very first thing that people look at when they see Aston Martin or we start engaging in a conversation, it's one of those brands that you're talking about, the most prestigious and significant car brand out there that has an aspirational quality. It's got the cool factor from James Bond and obviously now Formula One, a big part of it. So really, brands that are looking for brand elevation, an association with Aston Martin gets them that perception. If you're already a luxury brand or a premium brand, this is a reinforcement. There's an audience overlap from just the demographics of the Aston Martin side of the fence. Aston Martin Formula One, we're trying to reach all audiences. So we do that through our social media. We have the last year in 2023, we added the most number of followers than any team just in the calendar year, as well as had the most engaged social media audience. So our social media content was engaging, whether it was on TikTok with Fernando Alonso and some of the amazing stuff he was doing, or the business community watching posts and videos, whether they're on YouTube or LinkedIn. So what we really try to do is resonate with all types of audiences. We have an expression in our marketing team that, yes, an Aston Martin, the immediate connotation is a $300,000 car, then that obviously is only aspired to or realized rather by a small percentage of people. But the Aston Martin brand, being a part of it, we have this expression of exclusive, like inclusive, exclusive. So being inclusive, exclusive means you can be a fan, you can like us on Instagram and you're part of us, right? You can join our IM program, our fan program, and you're part of our email database. You can buy a hat. Hats are fairly pricey, but they're a lot cheaper than a car. And we love seeing fans participate that way.
Can you touch a little bit more on who that fan is, and do you see there's a difference from like a US fan or North American fan of the team versus the larger international fan base of the team?
Yeah, absolutely. There's probably, and my marketing team would be able to delve into greater detail, but there's 6 or 7 different customer segments that we really try to target and reach in different ways and different campaigns. Like, for example, last year at the Austin race, we really focused on this emerging, really strong US female audience. So, we have Jessica Hawkins, who's our star female driver who is now leading our academy efforts. But she's been able to do phenomenal things. Like most recently, she was the first woman to run in a F1 car. This was last year, and took it out and for some practice laps. And then this year, we took that one step further, and she did the same in the streets of Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. So in 2018, women weren't allowed to drive in Saudi Arabia, and now we have a female race car driver in an Aston Martin taken to the streets of Riyadh. So, whether that fan focus was, what can we do to embrace the fact that the women in motorsports? There's young segments. There's a segment of Aston Martin owners, sort of luxury segments. So, what we try to do is, depending on what country we're in and what the potential fan activations would look like, reach at least 1 or 2 of those key segments.
And with the storylines of like a Jessica or Alonso re-signing through 2026 and success of Drive to Survive, do you find that your team partners are really trying to tap into those storylines from a partnership perspective?
Yeah, I mean, so you hit Drive to Survive, a digression that's well worth it. I mean, really, for most Americans, Formula One was viewed as a foreign sport, embraced by Europeans. And by the way, I think the sport itself at the time was fairly exclusive in a way that wasn't endearing itself to the U.S. audiences. It was on random channels in the middle of the night. When Liberty Media made the conscious investment and focus on trying to get the American public to care about Formula One, Drive to Survive became the linchpin to that. And what happened is, now you have 6 seasons of Drive to Survive. The storyline of the drivers and the drama that might play out, but also the camaraderie, the brands in and of themselves, all 10 teams have become iconic. And the American focus has been, how can our brand be part of the sport, but also as a byproduct, they're part of the most popular show on Netflix.
Yeah.
So that's become a big attraction point. But what the kind of interesting thing is, you're talking about a TV series on Netflix that immediately drove people to watch the races on television. So the U.S. audience was maybe 10 million people 4 or 5 years ago for F1, as far as people that describe themselves as F1 fans. Now there's 100 million people in the U.S. self-describe themselves as Formula One fans.
That's a crazy stat.
Yeah.
It's wild. And I mean, the team has some amazing partners, as shown on your shirt. Love it. Love the plugs. Are there any new brand categories that you feel the team hasn't tapped into quite yet from a partner perspective? And what type of partners is the team looking for?
Yes, I think historically, and still very much a backbone for Formula One team, technology brands and financial services brands, mainly because of that global feel, the ability to bring premium customers or prospects, whether you're a tech company like a Cognizant or Juniper Networks, or from a financial services, we have Velocity Black, which is part of Capital One. We've got Citibank, so those types of partnerships. But most recently, we signed up Regent Seven Seas, who we're speaking about a little bit later on today. But Regent Seven Seas is a premium luxury cruise line, and the brand alignment with the Aston Martin fit made a lot of sense. But also immediately from their business perspective was there's a cross-pollination where the Regent customer base, who maybe has been longtime Regent, could now be interested in buying Aston Martins as a car, and vice versa. The many Aston Martin owners and fans of the brand are now maybe more likely to get on a Regent Seven Seas cruise.
Right.
As far as other categories, I really think that the consumer brands that have flocked historically to places like NASCAR, almost all of them now are global and are available in so many markets. So you've got beverages, packaged goods, snack foods. You've got fast food or restaurant chains. All of those, are starting to permeate into a few of the F1 teams. Honestly, I think technology, we're still, there's so many big companies out there that are just waking up to the fact that there's nothing like Formula One to be able to host your top prospects and top customers around the world. So we think that still has a lot of legs too.
And from an integration standpoint too, it's very natural from like a tech standpoint of,
yes, authenticity, because we can use, almost any technology company you can name. If you're situated with the name Aston Martin as the Aston Martin Formula One team, and you're the technology X that's helping Aston Martin Formula One have the fastest cars in the world and the world's fastest sport, speed, power, elegance, all those messages, get not only reinforced from the brand association, but actually get to use it, right? So then you get a powerful case study that you're able to showcase in your conferences, and you can tell a story. Again, your SentinelOne and Juniper Networks, NetApp, 3 examples of companies that, if they were to tell their story without an association with Aston Martin Formula One, you know, the hardcore customer base might listen to it, but now they're going to reach, you know, that 1.5 billion TV viewers and fans out there that are picking up a storyline in a clever way that might be a 60-second YouTube video or Instagram post, but it's a way to extend their message in a much more creative way.
Yeah. And with audience being so important to brands and brand partnerships, you mentioned how your social audience grew massively. How do you continue to grow that audience for the team, you know, as you go forward?
It's a great question. I think the beginning of last year, I don't think Fernando Alonso had a TikTok account.
Wow.
It added, you know, over 1 million people. It's an incredible growth story. So, you know, having drivers with popularity and you know, Jessica Hawkins being an example, she's not one of our 2 F1 drivers, but is such a popular figure. You know, we've got reserve drivers. We just signed up an 18-year-old American driver, Jack Crawford. So we've got an American driver, a Canadian driver. Fernando Alonso is sort of like a citizen of the world, right? I mean, he's Spanish, but he lives in Monaco, races for a British team, used to race IndyCar briefly in the US. So he's got popularity pretty much globally. It was with Ferrari and was with Renault and Alpine. So he's got French fans so we think that actually really kind of leveraging the popularity of the drivers, the popularity of the brand. I mean, Aston Martin itself is a brand that's extremely popular in the US. It's extremely popular in Asia, throughout Europe. So there's a lot of room to grow, in our opinion, to even keep growing from the success we had last year.
It's really exciting. What are you most excited about this weekend with the upcoming Grand Prix?
I'm thrilled to see the uptick in the interest in general from the sponsorship crowd. You know, I'm hosting a group of prospects that I'm really excited to hang out with and show them all the great things that we're doing. You know, it's one of those things where, you know, we had podium last year, would of course be incredible to repeat that, but we're also neck and neck with Mercedes.
Yeah.
So right now, for our team perspective, you know, I'd love to see us, you know, catch and ideally pass Mercedes as soon as possible. There's a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek rivalry there because we use their engines. And so, you know, that will be a fun, as far as longer term, you know, in 2026, Aston Martin Formula One is going to have the Honda engine, which has been winning championships with Red Bull, and it's going to be exclusive to us. So we've got this great opportunity coming. We've just re-signed Fernando Alonso, and you know, Lance Stroll is a mainstay superstar of our team too, and we've got a great synergy with the drivers, great future coming up with the new engine. Personally, I'm also excited. We're hosting a Sports Illustrated party this evening.
Oh, amazing.
Alongside Tom Brady, and as a Bostonian, that's pretty damn exciting.
Yeah.
You know,
that's big time.
He's like family to me, but he doesn't know it. But so Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll will be up there with Brady and our race car.
That's
I can't
awesome.
think of a better moment for me this weekend.
Yeah, that's a personal win for sure. Well, thank you for sitting down ahead of what is going to be a very busy weekend for you, I'm sure. And yeah, thank you.
Great. Thanks.